Welcome to my television and cinema video presentation. I'm Leah Raid, and for the next couple of minutes, we're going to be exploring the decline of movies, the transition into television, and the movie comeback. In 1929, there were 95 million people went to movie houses. All the way to 2023, 15.9 million people per year went to the movies. This launched a new era in cinema. See, the role of television. While many attributed the decline of motion picture attendance to the advent of television, history really has disproved that. Television was merely a highly visible, superficial symptom of much more profound change in post-war entertainment patterns rather than the direct cause of the movie's downfall. The source of the problem lay elsewhere. In the economic and socio-cultural transformation of the blue and white collar American during the post-war period into the leisure masses. See, after the war, people went from working 48 hours a week, 6 days a week, with very limited amounts of time, pretty much limited to the evenings, to having a 5-day work week. They had a full weekend. So instead of going to the movies, they were going camping. They were gardening. They were playing golf. They were spending money on power tools, and they were building their homes. Because they had more money and they had more time, there was more opportunities for recreation. The Americans had not just stopped going to the movies, they had begun doing something else. Lots of these something elses. They bought new homes, they bought new cars, they had a new lifestyle. Many people left the urban settings. In fact, 11 million of the 13 million homes that were built in New York were built between 47 and 58 were built in the suburbs. So people in mass built homes. A lot of these homes only cost $8,000. Isn't that amazing? There was just a post-war spending boom that meant suburbia. So all of these movie houses, they sat empty. And so they had to pivot. Like, how could we pivot? Because of all the disposable income, because people had children, someone came up with a wonderful idea. There were drive-ins. They were not as many. They went from 554 drive-ins in a 10-year period to 4,700 drive-ins where people didn't have to worry about getting babysitters. They could take their kids. There were playgrounds there. Some of my fondest memories was going to the drive-ins. I saw great movies like The Sound of Music and Chitty Chitty Bang Bang at the drive-in theater. A lot of Elvis Presley movies at the drive-in theaters. We would go, we would put the top down on our convertible car. My little siblings that were much younger, they would fall asleep. My parents would inevitably fall asleep. And I just felt like I had the whole movie theater and the stars and just the entertainment all around me, all to myself. It was wonderful. Loved the drive-ins. But Hollywood had to have an answer to the introduction of televisions. Everybody had these 13-inch or 19-inch black and white TVs in their homes. And so they introduced something called the Cinerama. And the Cinerama, 3D projectors, and CinemaScope, we'll talk about those. Cinerama was very immersive, and it was this huge immersive screen, not just a square screen that had just been kind of the norm, but this palindrome kind of screen that immersed the viewers. In fact, it said that people would become even like participants in the cinema. With 3D projectors came a different kind of participation where people weren't immersed in it. They were when arrows would come, it was like they were being assaulted, is the way that our text described it. I thought that was so funny. And then came the advent of a CinemaScope. And the CinemaScope, these giant screens like the IMAX theaters and the surround sound that we have today, to just really immerse the viewer in the production. In the 1950s, gave way to an unspoken truce between television and movies, starting with Disney producing the TV show Disneyland. Other Hollywood studios also produced for television. So they kind of went from villain to partner. More people than ever today are watching television, are watching movies on their televisions. We've gone from my first television, in fact, up until I was about 15 years old, we had a 13-inch black and white TV. Now we have here, I'm in my church, we have 11 75-inch TVs posted around the building. They are, we had the biggest Super Bowl party because we had we had the surround sound. It was wonderful. So more people are watching movies. They're just streaming it from their home theaters now. Home videos are kind of what they do. Now, what has happened, those second-run theaters kind of have gone by the wayside because movies go straight from theater to streaming. In fact, they go to streaming before the theaters even have finished the production of the run of the movie. So there's a whole lot of money still being made in these productions. And then came the spectacles, and these are the big series, the big spectacular movies like the Ten Commandments. And we watch that every Easter. It's still even made in the 50s, but it was a big blockbuster production. Then came Star Wars and the series that continued over and over with, you could count on the sound and the special effects. And then of course IMAX. I experienced my first IMAX production years ago when I was working with a regional science center, and it was the Serengeti Plains, and I just felt like there's this 80-foot or 80, I don't know, it was huge, 3 stories screen, and I just felt like I was right there on the Serengeti, and have watched many productions, spectacular spectacles. So the TV and motion pictures, they're both better than ever. They complement one another. They work together, and I'm so grateful to have seen the evolution of these great movies, transitioning to television, transitioning to what we have today. So thank you for letting me share.